Welcome everybody. Last week I sent out a newsletter asking my subscribers to submit their projects so I can give them feedback and eventually tear them down. I received one very interesting submission and it's from Wahyu Gautama, who is working for Remote.io, and as we can see, Remote.io is essentially a job board. He's working there as a UX designer. So what I'm going to do here is now walk you through my process and thinking what I would do differently for this page. And I just want to give a short disclaimer. I have no business insights into it. Always received from Wahyu is a short email, which was basically explaining what remote is. So let's dive into Sketch and see what we can do better. We can quickly see that I recreated the page briefly so we can actually plan and tweak it a little bit better. What I see is that the page itself is not that bad, but everything just feels super cluttered. The spacing here feels a little bit close, especially these job cards, they feel extremely close to each other. So how would we change it? Now, when I'm starting to work on a project, I always look back and start to analyze, okay, how we can free up more space. Now, there are a lot of ways we can improve. Now, Remote.io, as far as we can see, it uses this blue and they have this green into their logo, and also this green is their favicon. So I'm not particularly sure why we have this red here. Maybe because the red is to draw more attention, but what I do is, for stars, I'll just grab this green and change this to match it. I really like that they have this human element. They have this human element to it, so you know that it's a human, but I would actually make this a little bit bigger, something to around 700 pixels maybe. It's up to you really to this, 728. Usually that's the default of normal websites. Of course, I have shared many resources that why we shouldn't care about the default and things like that. So go out and subscribe to my newsletter if you want. But then we can start actually playing with everything here. You can clearly see that we need some breathing space in this. And also what I would do is, we have, here's 48, we have this negative kerning letter spacing into it. And I'm not sure why does he do it or why he did it this way. But I want to give it a little bit more breathing space. Like, I think that everything just feels super tight together. Now, what we can do is we can keep the human character, but maybe you can go here. What if we remove this from the hero, make this 0 or minus 0.3. This, as you can see, this is 48. This is technically correct, but it feels like this is letting me down. Maybe you can do it like that. I think it looks much better, and also fix the spacing to be proper. And also you can play around a bit with color. So in one of the lessons we cover how we can select primary, secondary, and tertiary color. So what if something comes from this blue? Now, as we said, we like this human character, so we will keep it. But I think that this background is a bit too dark, to be honest. Like, it's this dark blue. Maybe I'm not sure if we use a gradient, but what if we use some of their blue that they use? Let's open up the website once again and see. Let's look at what they look. This is apparently, this blue is their primary color. So we'll just grab this. Let's see. Okay, this blue is their primary color. And in one of the lessons in the course, we cover this. Okay, so I want to extract a lighter version of this color, but how should I do it? And it's quite simple. When you take out saturation from it, it becomes gray. So we want some of the saturation, but we want slightly bigger brightness. And you can play again with saturation a bit more. So maybe something like this to be more light, to be more friendly. what we can do afterwards is change the color to something darker, and then we will change this also to be something a little bit darker. The logo, I grabbed it from a screenshot, so apparently I cannot change it, but you can also we can just have it like this as for the time being, and here it already looks a lot better in my opinion. Now what we can do, we can reduce the stroke here and maybe not say remote jobs, but maybe just jobs, or I'm not sure what their idea is. And then you can easily make it like this. This actually has a secondary button, but that's up to you to decide. But I will just reduce this. If you want to be a secondary color, you can always grab this, as you said, and maybe add something like this to it. And eventually, let me just grab their primary color once again, and maybe you can make it like that. So it just adds a bit more character to it, and maybe you can reduce this to be slightly more grayish, something like this. So it just adds a little bit more depth and interest to it. So these buttons now, maybe we can call them our primary and our secondary buttons. So after we did this, let's go and tackle our title. Maybe we can call this 20 and make the line height to be 30. And also what you can do back then is maybe this is slightly bigger in my opinion. What you can do is always make it a little bit less big. So it's something like this, and let's pick this color that we chose here for title, for a secondary title, and now it looks even better. And what I would do now is grab this, slam it into here, and play around with this a little bit, and then grab the search bar and paste it into here. Now this doesn't look good at all, let's be honest. So what can we do to improve it? Now, a couple of things. Apparently the search needs to come all the way to the right. You can make it bigger, play with the spacing 24, and then improve this to become the desired outcome. Let's make it like this. You can improve the corner radius, or you can decrease it. Usually I try to look at the corner radiuses for them to be similar, so when you look at it, it seems consistent. So you can keep it like this. After that, you can look at how the spacing inside the button itself is. Maybe we can reduce this to be 0. We can have this to be medium, to be slightly more readable, and to place it in the center. After we've done this, it's time to take the main actions into actually the website itself. So what I would do is actually maybe just maybe let's actually bring some spacing to it. And what if we don't need all the categories? Let's see what do the categories actually show in this. So if you go and look at the categories, you have all of this. So maybe we don't need to have it right here and there. What you can do easily is improve this. I think it's a little bit tiny. Maybe we can make it 16, and also grab the same color as here. So this will become our placeholder color. Yep. Something like this. And you can improve this icon to be 16, even 18. So this is it. That's what we can do. Also play with spacing, 32, 38, 37. Play with spacing, and what I would do is like focus on what's the most important thing on that page. We can actually, this is maybe a little bit too bright. you can reduce the opacity to 60% or something like this if you want to be a little bit more grayish. Now, after we've tackled their landing page, actually let me go and grab their logo. Let's see if this plugin is called CSS Peeper. It looks at the CSS and you can grab images and things you need for assets. So yeah, awesome. Then you can see, we can just put it smaller and we have a black logo now. This, although it's not there yet, maybe you can try different fonts, you can try a lot of different things, but I'm just trying to give you some examples of how I'll be thinking about it. Then let's go and grab this and also think of what can be the most important thing. We already know that this is a remote job website. So do we need to say here remote job? Maybe we can say a number of jobs. So let's say 813 jobs. We can also reduce it to be regular. And what you can also do is have it to be slightly different gray. Maybe something bluish, maybe something like this. And this already looks to me much better, to be honest. Now, I think that we need two things in this one. What we also need is one, do we need to have that filter? That's the main question. So if we need to have the filter, I would include this bigger filtering option right here to the right, but they don't have that filter. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. So let's just add this as a link here, browse all jobs, and here we have it. And then let's have this, and here it is. This is more prominent to be an action. Now, previously it was dark gray, so you didn't actually know, was that an action or was it not? So this way we actually know, okay, this is actually an action, and it's much more coherent together. Now, let's go to the main section of the job cards. When we look at, we have one sponsored post, which this sponsored immediately seems small to me. Here the text, you barely have any differences, especially on the white, and everything just feels a little bit too tight. I always say, like, give it more breathing space and then take down from it. So let's give it more breathing space. So let's say that, as you can see, it's aligned the same, but here it's the other one. But let's actually, maybe this is 18, this is also 18. As you can see, they're the same thing, but they're not actually the same. Should they be having the same treatment? Maybe, who knows? So let's have it like that. Let's make it centered. Now that we have this, you can play around with the text a little bit more. So it's like 16. This is too small of a difference to me, to be honest. Like, I would go 14, and I will also, let's select the background color. I would also go with something like this. Again, we're just playing with saturation and with brightness here, and this looks much better to me, to be honest. But if you want to group it, you can also have it like this. Just distribute the spacing evenly. So if you go 24 by 24, then let's have this button. Let's give him 24 as well. And it might need to have, let's bring it down, -5. And here it is, 24, 24. And this looks to me much more concise and consistent. And let's center the button slightly. As you can see now, the button is not perfect. Now let's just fix it. Let's just bring it a little bit more space. So let's be sure to have 32 and 27. So we take out 5 and it's 32 by 32 everywhere. And now we're gonna be sure that everything is consistent in this. This already, to me, looks much better. And then you just bring it here, give it a little bit more breathing space, give it a little bit more room to breathe. And then let's just move to the job card itself. Again, let's give it a little bit more breathing space. Previously, I felt like it's a little bit too tight. So that's why I'm just gonna explore it a bit more and see how we can actually make it better. What's important here is that we have a location, we have a tag, and we have a salary, when it was posted, and apparently what industry or what category it's going to be in. So how would we change that? Again, we start with the most simple thing. Let's just make this huge. Then I'm going to up the title card to 20. I'm going to also have this at 16. I think that should be enough. And then we're just gonna move the labels. So let's think of how we can do it. Now, I want to unify these tags. They feel all over the place, to be honest. So let's just bring this like some breathing space, like 8. Let's just give it some more on the top. We have anywhere. We have let's just have it 16. Maybe we can actually bring this to 12. This is 16. Okay, this is good. Let's just make it like this. Let's bring it like, maybe we can have it like 3. Let's just have this to be exactly the same. So I'm just playing with it. So we have location, which is very important. Anywhere or anywhere. I think that this way it would be better. And what if we just have a different color for every single location that you can have? You can play around with it afterwards, but let's just make it solid for sure. 10, as you can see, 12. Yep. So maybe you can, let's just grab this blue, and then let's just grab this blue, and you can make it with the main color that you decide to have. But you need to be considering accessibility. So if this doesn't look that good, so maybe try to make something darker, and also grab the same color for the dot. And this will spark much more interest, in my opinion. So this is the location part. As you can see, we're following the 4 pixel grid. We can take one here, actually 2, sorry, 23. And here it is. You can even go 8 if you want. You can, to save a little bit more space, -3, 8 by 8. And this is essentially how I think maybe it can work anywhere. Now we are onto the more challenging part out of this, because now we need to figure out what's the business and what's the other category. So if we take a look, they can have multiple finance insurance, and that's normal because a lot of companies have more than one criteria. So what I actually think about doing is keeping this somewhere to the center, but bringing the marking back, because as you see that here we have only one category, but here we have multiple tags apparently to it. So this will actually free us up some space. We have green as our main call to action, and we have blue as a link call to action, and we have blue as these links. So maybe you can figure out what's the way in order to work with blue. So it's orange, sorry, it's not orange, it's purple. So you can go into the color wheel and start looking at purple colors that work. So this is 273. Let's try this hue, and you just go here and you change the hue to 273, and this is how easy it is to grab another color if you use this method. So you immediately create consistent interfaces, because The only thing that switches is the hue, but we don't want to have it like this. What I do is, you see now that this is a little bit too tight, so let's just bring it back to 12. You can have this to 4. Let's just have this to 12. Let's look at what was the category. So it was marketing. Let's do it marketing, but let's go marketing. And then you just take out -5. Okay, so this already looks much better, but we still lack the main problem, maybe, in my opinion. So now we have, let's grab on icon jar. We need to figure out 2 more things. So let's look for money or dollar. Yep, that can work. And what I want is to be, I want to grab this here, and I would, to be honest, maybe we can make this medium to be slightly bold, and figure out a different color to it. So it's still grayish blue, but something like this, and this to be what it was regular. Yep, I really like this much more. And then we can grab this dollar symbol that we want, and it's already 18 by 18, so that's perfect. I use icon jar for a lot of my icons, but if needed, I also create my own icons, and we've covered this in more in depth in one of the course videos. We have just 18, 24, and let's figure out a very good color to it. So if we open the color wheel and we grab something bluish, we can go with something like this, and maybe you can even do it like that. You can have it 4. So they need to be related to each other, but they also need to be different. So let's have it as 16. So let's just grab this color. Oops, sorry. Let's just grab the color. And this already looks much better, but I'm not particularly happy with this color. What if we made it like this, but change this? No, I'm still not happy with it. So what if we just made it like this? I want it to be slightly darker, to be honest. I don't want it to be purely gray, because it's not enough contrast. So let's just remove the marketing, and now we can actually start closing the space, because we have 24 and we need to have 24. So let's just remove 5, and that is now what essentially. So where would we place the logo in this case? I would always place the logo on top. It needs to be logical. So you need to be thinking about the size of the logo as well. Also, how would you place the tags and things like that? And how would we work with colored logos? So we actually need to bring it to here. Here it is 24. Let's be sure that it's consistent. Let's not make the same mistake. Yeah, you can clearly see it. So let's just have it like this. Let's just grab it and let's move it to be 24 as well. Quite straightforward. So now you can also actually here, I'm not particularly happy with this color, so maybe we can figure out a slightly different blue color. Or maybe it shouldn't be medium, it should be same both. Actually, let's go with medium, and let's go with something like this. It's not pure black. So I think that we will need a little bit more of this, but this looks horrible. Now what I would do is actually make this the same color as the background, or if you remove it, you see that we have just the drop shadow. I will actually remove the drop shadow and add a border. I would, so what would the border be? Let's go into this. Oops, let's pick this color, and this is too light, as you can see. You can go to something like this. And this is already much better. Now let's just make this 16. We already have gray for this. Let's make it like this. 15 minutes. Maybe ago, because we want to know when it was posted. Let's make it like this. And then one last step that we need to figure out is this. So how do we tackle these tags? This is very challenging. One easy way to do it is to add just simply a border, because there will be a lot of them. You add this border and you just add a blue link color similar to this one, and that might do it. Let's look. But you need to be considering this doesn't work business. I would also always go with a lowercase. Let's remove the 8. I'm not a fan of this, to be honest. I'm not also a fan of this, so I would go with something slightly grayer, something like this, to be honest. Then let's just do you think that I think that it would look really good. Oops. You can add white. You can also do it like this. And then you can, I'm not sure if those tags are clickable. Let's see. They actually apply these tags to search, which is interesting. So they are clickable. So you can do it like this, so people know that if we're now following this logic, you can do it exactly like this. But I would really think of how many of these tags you actually need. How many of them are actually gonna be needed? How many of them are gonna be used? Do you actually need them to be here? Because maybe you do, if you don't search. But there are a lot of possibilities you can do now. What we can do, of course, about the tags, it's quite simple. So if you look at the tags, if you're going to use just one or two, you can always group it with the other tags, which to be honest, I think that this is the way to go. In my opinion, this is the smartest way to do it, to have it like this. Apparently they need to be smaller. They need to be the same size, actually, not smaller. So like this. So then you have, and this is logical because now you have what category, and this is, I think, that search results or search category, so you can have multiple of them. But I wouldn't go overboard to have too many. I would try to keep them to maximum 2 or I don't know, 3 at most, because you have a job details page anyways. So now that that's done, let's just I don't want to rip your design completely, man. But now that that's done, let's just reuse this. Let's give it a spacing, and this can be your hover state. And this is essentially what I would do if I was going into redesigning a page. What I would do actually here is I think that this page is quite good. I don't know why the apply button is on top. I would move it to the bottom and maybe have some kind of a box here in order for it to be visible. But overall, that's it. Now, if you like this video, subscribe and hit me up on dennis@uilearn.com, and I'll see you very soon.